Sheila here with Sirius Dallas Moon, Venus Hour, Venus Day, Venus Mars Night, Venus Day, Venus 13 degrees Taurus, Ascendant 18 degrees Scorpio, ruled by Mars in 0 degree Aries, Moon at the end of Capricorn, Jupiter 16 degrees Cancer, Midheaven, ruled by the Sun, and Midheaven in Maga Nakshatra 25 degrees Leo. Well, it's going to be a little bit of an energy reading, probably themes that are related to the eclipses we had with Venus and Rahu. But this Uranus at the end of, it's Uranus at the end of Taurus, and the fresh ahierarchical sovereign daughter, or the ahierarchical woman, or the ahierarchical relation. And that might resonate with different people at different eras. And so with Uranus in Taurus sign, only now I think I have Uranus in Sag in the 10th house, and I'm beginning to think a lot of the things that I say also have to do with this Uranus going through Taurus, because Uranus Taurus is ahierarchical relations. Uranus decentralizes what it goes through, and is actually opposing Scorpio. And in Scorpio season, there was this decentralizing men challenge. And so this could literally be Uranus opposing Sun in Scorpio at the time. And when it comes to Venus as the daughter or the apprentice, or Venus as the student or the employee or the assistant, Uranus has an hierarchical situation where, with Venus in Taurus, or with Taurus, the yes, no, and maybe being honored is more important. And I'm thinking about a couple of conflicts that I had where I could literally confront the fact that, it was kind of like, hey, the Epstein list is out. How many of my colleagues were, and without judging the circumstances that brought them to that, practicing something like the Epsteins to at least a certain degree. And yet Uranus here doesn't come to demote or to hunt, but to liberate from those practices for everyone. The square between, and I've been watching Thread of Fate, last decan of Leo, and so the square between Uranus and the last decan of Taurus, which is spirit and matter uniting, the connection between spirit and matter, and the last decan of Leo, which is very vibrant, very glowy, very shiny, very motivated. It can be extremely loving or extremely power hungry. I'm a good student. Is, and if I can think about a conflict I had with a person that had Mars there, it was like, well, my yes, no, and maybe need to be honored. The structure needs to be such that, like to even consider somebody's behavior or somebody's advances or somebody's bullying, I'd have to be in a position where I'm allowed to withdraw without having malefic implications on me. And saying no to people that are affiliated with something like the Epstein is um, has its thing. But here's the thing about the last deacon of Leo. Its desire to win can see it as a challenge to win, and the last deacon of Taurus doesn't offer a win. It's kind of like a win can be a win-win, but that last deacon of Leo needs a win. And so the last deacon of Leo is kind of like, hey, can I offer you a win? Here's a situation where you could be winning, and Taurus is like, wait a second, I need a win-win. Um, so more things that come about is um, last deacon of Taurus being okay. Let's remove or let's liberate ourselves from things that um, do not support our joyous union or joyous creative fertile creation. And those things being bitterings, for example. And it's not for example because in Taurus that's the thing. Taurus is a union sign, and it's not a power. The time we had Pluto in Taurus was um, with psychology going Freud. Yeah, the Freudian psychology is kind of like, would you take a consultation from a psychologist who would not go down on a woman, being a man that sleeps with women? That and Uranus in Taurus comes to liberate us from basically any mistreat of the feminine within ourselves and within society. Um, when it comes to meeting the fate of the daughter, it can also come to, let's say, people that have Taurus fifth house um, or Venus in their fifth house. They could be at the at the time where, even though the world is at war, they could be pregnant with a daughter, for example, and um, that daughter is not going. And how should I say that? If the last deacon of Leo would reclaim sluttiness, the last deacon of Taurus, and some people can do that with the last deacon of Taurus, but the last deacon of Taurus would reclaim not reclaiming. Like, that shit need be gone. I'm not even going to respond or divert it to work for me, or that's not a framework which, and look, the next sign is Gemini, which is about framing, and what type of frame, what do we put in the frame, who is in the frame, this frame versus that frame. While the last deacon of Taurus is kind of like, hey, that framing is not even a framework I can work with, not as reclaiming, not as adhering, and not even as rebelling. dish don't bring the water, even as reclaiming. And the type of daughters. Oh, another thing I saw was regarding shout out to Lida Sefa. But I saw it and then Lida Sefa spoke about something. The sisterhood. What is sisterhood? Unionized to abolish trafficking rings. Uranus has a lovely capacity to find unusual solutions, unprecedented solutions to situations that were thought inconceivable to resolve before. It squares with Dana-Balgedi exactly on the point of eroticism. Dana-Balgedi is wealth redistribution. We cannot wealth redistribute our life energy or sexual energy. We can only abolish rape and reconnect with our own embodied sense of self. If there is, let's say, if I go to an event and I bring cake, I need to know how many people are going to be at the event because I'm gonna need enough cake for people. Not possible with sex. And this is what Epstein tried to do. Bring the girls. Where are the girls? Are there gonna be girls? Are gonna be everybody gonna have girls? Or is this guy gonna have girls? Everybody gonna. But it's not something that's possible to do with sex. And of course, have to be boys because without some people like boys, some people like girls. Gotta take care of everybody. But because it's not possible to do with sex, we have this square both between the last deacon of Leo, where there's a big party and we gotta bring, we gotta make sure that everybody's being taken care of, but we can't have them taken care of in that way. The Inuit tried. Now they're dealing with Epstein ring. And he's squaring last deacon of Aquarius, which is about basically making sure that nobody is left out. It opposes last deacon of Scorpio. And last deacon of Scorpio is more about the past. If it's true crime, then it's going to be a cold case of. It's it's coming out of the phoenix phase. Is the phoenix rises from the flame. But here is insisting about, hey, that phoenix shouldn't have been burned to begin with. If she is believed, it can prevent a world war, but drop a petering. If she is not believed, there will be dead bodies upon dead bodies as the evidence. And eventually that would be her legacy. and his war crime or their war crime, which would become their legacy. Their legacy would become what they would be remembered as war criminal. Um, powerful fixed sign juncture. And what I'm getting with the energy of the doubter, it's not if it's a and the doubter can be, let's say, a woman that is apprentice at another woman, or a student, or simply a daughter. This daughter is not gonna have the reverence in a hierarchical way. And she's going to require the drop that petering as a prerequisite to being born. Okay? Whether she is alive or not, whether we can look at it metaphysically or physically, zero petering, zero rape, zero slavery, zero energy siphoning, and all of the things that are accompanying that are prerequisite for having good relations with his daughter. And in any case, her reverence, there's going to be a sense of detachment to her reverence. It's not that she's not going to respect. It's kind of like, when if I'm already a researcher, let's say in academia, and I write a new article, I quote the people, the colleagues that contributed to my idea. And I add, this is my contribution. With this Uranus, I'm not going to wait for somebody to certify me. It's going to just happen. And that's going to be the reverence. It's not going to be it's not going to be Capricornian. And what do I mean by that? It's not Uranus here is not going to accept gatekeeping. Now, this is also why the Peter rings can't be, because we're going to have a lot of young people. And young, it can be young in terms of the years in a practice, or young because they are the student, or young because these are the children that are becoming youth, or young because they are the newborn children. And they are going to progress in that fashion. Think about it. Uranus strikes Gemini. People like Ladon and Sheva talking about, launching a business is going to be way more simple with AI. So it's not going to be those traditional ways, because those traditional ways were too rapey. And the people that for whom, how should I say that, if you live in a village, there are some villages I saw in various countries in Africa where people would kneel before the elders, and when there was nothing rapey, when there was nothing Epstein-like, It will say, oh, because of that, it was nothing. Bullshit. To the people that weren't raped, to the people that weren't disrespected, to the people that weren't targeted in a way that the elders couldn't even see. These people might miss the kind gestures, the respect for the elders, the calling in, in some European languages, using third body. Um, some people might miss that. But we gotta remember why that dropped. And the benefit is being able to see those that were higher up the hierarchy as people. Uranus in Taurus is not to be underestimated. One of the most profound changes we have. Uranus through Libra shifts the table. Uranus in Taurus does something way deeper and way more profound. It's an embodied respect, but not from a Leo point of view. It's respect to the embodied. And the many changes that are happening in the world are preparing us for the children that are going to be born in the world. Some of the children that were born around the Me Too have already tried to unalive themselves. This showing how our disintegration of the themes that came in the Me Too, and of course it was Uranus conjoining Aries, and Aries is about something that was not included. Basically caused us to lose lives because we had the chance to connect between the themes that came up at the Me Too to the themes that come up at the Epsteins to the theme that came up at what people later dismissed as satanic panic. And actually accommodate for life in the world. These are not private cases. With Uranus in Taurus, the woman or the sister is no longer on the basis of rape or treason. Think about fraternities and sororities. Sororities is not sisterhood, is Epstein ring. And it is in direct connection to the children, and particularly the daughters. A lot of people are confronted through relation with their inner children. Or how would they treat the daughter? If I think about, I had a colleague that later became a doula. Only now connect the dots. Then that is like just think what such a role entails. Because if there are parents around or people pregnant around, they're usually going to get like a preparation or relational or zeitgeist preparation for the children. I had the honor to have some child parents readings, and I saw, um, particularly for the more difficult situations, and I saw how each child brought completely, it's kind of like almost more advanced themes. It almost felt like the parent is in some sort of a spiritual race. Like, as an astrologer, it was quite terrifying to look at it, because it's kind of like, well, the younger daughter or the older daughter, those issues came up, and then the younger daughter, those issues came up. It's kind of like, wait, does it? Don't people get to relax? Like, it's not a parent, it's a veteran. Um, and when a person has a profession, something like, doula or something like that, if a parent before every birth of child deals with many, I saw how sometimes my relations with certain people that were about to have a baby was like things that were coming up, and then a Peter ring dropped. Oh, it's a boy. Big boy. Uh-huh. Let him not be Epstein. Now, I myself did not bring children because, first of all, I needed to connect with my inner child. Secondly, because I didn't want to deal with those things, and I found myself completely like sides of me came up that I didn't. It was like, it's not even my baby. So people that are working in like doulas or something, every single client that they are meeting is meeting them at such a profound transformation. Just think about the fact that the Bible, big shout out to Shaina Conde, that the Bible sees pregnancy as punishment, to which thistles help. I mean, yeah, thistles are very good for fertility in the endocrine system, but this that the woman will be controlled by the husband, and it's kind of like that is a recipe for growing Epstein's and Ghislaine Maxwell's. Um, the themes that are coming up with this upcoming new edition of daughters um, are very much to do with both dropping the Peter rings and stuff, but also that the reverence, whether it's to the mother, to the teacher, to kind of like the woman, or even to the boss, or kind of like a woman that has earned her, let's say, status or something like that. The requirements for it to be Peter ring free, meaning zero Peter rings, is a prerequisite to begin with, so that there can be any flow. And and in any case, the reverence is not going to be like the young people kneeling in front of the elders. It's going to be appreciation, but it's going to come from a more decentralized. Children that were born with Uranus in Taurus, boys or girls, might carry that through the relations. Again, there are other aspects and so on. If somebody born like with a stellium in Capricorn, but the the awareness is of the people with Uranus. The appreciation is not just of the people that came before, but also the people that came after. It's kind of like if somebody inspired me, then I'm grateful. Then I I credit them, regardless if they came before me or they came after me or they are completely not from the field, or um, people are going to have really difficult time with this. People with stelliums in Capricorn, Aquarius. Now, Capricorn usually trines Taurus, um, and yet it's still Capricorn. A normal Taurus would have less of an issue here. A Uranus Taurus, that is um, that is where the reverence is not traditional and is not hierarchical. Now, here's the thing: Taurus trines Capricorn, but Taurus is not hierarchical in essence. It's a win-win. If Aries is win, Taurus is win-win. Some people have Saturn in Taurus, and so they might be different, but Taurus in essence is, how should I say that? Richard Feynman had Taurus in the ninth house. He had Sun and Mercury there. And one of the things he got actually from his father was, it doesn't matter how big the professor that said it, where did he study, how many years did he study. What it matters is, does it work with experiment? Does this idea carry merit? And if it does, then it is, by the essence of its being true, is a true idea. And this captures the spirit of Taurus in a different way, because Capricorn and Aquarius, or even to some degree Sagittarius, can have this deep respect for the, particularly Capricorn, can have this deep respect, maybe even Aquarius, for the training, the time it took, the dedication. It's the awareness of the trajectory that creates something. But with Taurus, we have the awareness of how we can spend all the time in the world, but an ideal value or truth value is truth value. It doesn't matter how many years I spent it doesn't matter how many years my doctor spent studying medicine. If what he prescribes to me negates the fifth vital sign, I know my fifth vital sign my entire life. My doctor doesn't. And we saw that profoundly in COVID, where Sedna conjoined beta per se on this deacon. See, Taurus is not particularly defiant. And the other trine is Virgo, and Virgo is also Virgo can be very educated, read the books and so on and so forth, but it also sees, does it actually work with experiment? With Capricorn, we have the tradition. For example, I have Neptune in Capricorn, and in filmmaking, one of the things I believed in was get to know the convention to break the convention. That was my path. It wasn't about anybody else. I understand the convention to break the convention, but it doesn't apply to all things. It doesn't apply to sex. It doesn't apply to certain values. While Virgo can be, one of the sentences I heard a person with Venus in Virgo saying was, there was somebody, I don't know if it was about love or about loyalty. It says, then their values become our values. And Virgo is indeed a mutable sign. But Taurus is a fixed sign. Um, and while they have all trine relations, Uranus here, Uranus here can create a little bit of a friction even in a trine or a sextile, because it liberates us. If it's a square, it liberates us from the square. If it's a trine or a sextile, it liberates us from the harmony. um, Now that the moon, I said, liberates us from the harmony, and the moon is applying to harmonize with Uranus from the end of Capricorn. Um, Another thing that I saw is people expecting somebody to become a parent, and that somebody actually needed to become more of their inner child. So that's another way in which, but this sounds more like the moon, but when it comes to meeting the fate of the daughter, it also pertains to the pressure on fertility. Um, think about the person, oh, what do you know about children? You're not a parent. I am the child. And this is the reason I am not a parent. At any case, I think a lot of since 2018, a lot of women met a lot of women and discovered a completely different territory. Think about the archetypes that we had regarding women. We had the Barbie film, we had the aftermath of the Me Too, we had the Jade girls, we had the skinny white lady, we had this single white woman. Uh, we had, I had no idea there was such a thing. I was like, well, isn't the single white woman meaning the married white man? We had all these types of archetypes. We had Ghislaine Maxwell's. We had the women of the Me Too went too far. And um, and I think it was a big journey for women. We had BIPOC women waking white women up, and we had white women or non-white, non-BIPOC women waking BIPOC women up. Sex work is not work. Your tribe letting you be raped for activism is treason. Where was the people that were saying that the person who is disincluded by the tribe will burn the entire village to feel its warmth when it comes to trafficking? What in all cases? Well, do you really think that a woman could do sex positive sex work, whatever that would entail, um, and compete with the Epsteins? I cannot even give an astrology reading competing with the Epsteins. The only type of competition is the competition that would be absorbed into, meaning, and I'm not, not the meat having keto as I speak. Now go have children with that. Go raise children with that. And go have reverence with that. Now, under any skies, children are born. And the people that are in that process right now, all of these themes that come up are sort of a background that prepares us for basically the embark of. embarking of. And it can be people that are having schools, it can be students, people that are having businesses, it can be the employees or the managers or the new people at the job, um, people that are having actual children, then they're going to see it profoundly. And my very best advice is don't think that it's a phase. Don't think that it's a phase, because people are not going to phase out after Uranus. Okay, the people that were harmed at the Me Too or even before the Me Too and got to that gnosis that that was the structure, no, they won't just get a job. The world has to change so that, and the more people try to teach a lesson to the young people that ta 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 ta, the more they find themselves at the receiving end of the lesson, particularly with the Epstein files drop. When I think about the fact that certain people, I'm just thinking about the fact that certain people work as doulas in these times. And children are born in these times. I mean, they don't put a stop and say, okay, the skies are very weird. Right now, nobody has children. Not now. Moon is more associated with Moon and Sun. Moon, Sun, Saturn are more associated with the parents. Venus and and Mercury and Jupiter are more associated with the children, and Venus with the daughters. And so Uranus here, with Uranus here, the daughter takes precedence. What the daughter has to say takes precedence. Now it can come up in so many. I remember when I was in, there was some sort of a demonstration with before that a tent camp around something, and I was in between houses at the time, so I went there, and they were the younger generation, and they were connecting with nature in a way that is way more profound than having a picnic or even meditating in nature. And they were talking about ecosystemic depression. Now, my initial response was, what the fuck? But then I remembered that in my generation, people said, "What the fuck about PTSD or emotional abuse?" And so I looked at it and I'm like, wow, they are up to something. They are up to something. And they are sensing nature in a way that people haven't sensed in quite a while. So, even in that sense, we may see the doubters, particularly the doubters, or something of Venusian. Even if it's boys, there's something Venusian about them. They can be artistic or having certain placement in Taurus. And what these basically doubters have to say takes precedence. More the things that are coming up about what do the people need to integrate when it comes to these daughters. Oh, in relationships, and this can be also women, but I'm getting that these daughters in relationships will, depending on their Saturn placement, will not be um, hierarchical, and they will not be, how should I say that? If it's a trad wife, she comes with a caveat. Okay, it's kind of like there's something gonna be. Oh, your wife picks herbs in the meadow and then sits and cooks for hours with her sisters, peeling leaves. And what does she cook at hellebore? It's like when you learn a new language and the first thing you learn is curses. um, Now, because there is also the risk of the burning of the witches timelines, um, Uranus in Taurus is very much, Heidi the mountain girl type of. What is she doing in the mountain? Building a city made of stone and mud. Um, um, or she's going to have this um very techy Yeah, this is kind of like something that really combines big technology and something that is so simple, like the garden or the meadow, or I think about the time when I was digging half moons and recording a podcast about astrology. That's that's pretty much the type of combinations. Um, oh, and these are people that will have the children who are born with Uranus in Taurus will have a timestamp of the embodied claircognizance, the sense of knowing in a very five sense way, not even extrasensory. The extrasensory comes to the five senses with Taurus. Um, they're not; these are not people to be messed with. Like technology can't disembody them without them rebelling in a very um, in a way that will be felt in the five senses. Um, More things to do with these. Dealing with these children. A lot of these children were born at different types of war times and crises. And dealing with these children, what happened? If I think about COVID, there was a liberation from certain dogmas. It's kind of like society did not really have rules that make sense. And so people began to break the rules that don't make sense. It's like, hey, you want me to put a mask on when I go to the grocery store? Um, Fine. If I have to pay for that mask, then I may steal an extra product. Because if people have lost the ability to work because they weren't taking a certain substance, then they're gonna need food. And Uranus square Saturn was pretty much that weird rebellion. But then when people thought, oh, wait, they're going to take that rebellion to, hey, let's be rebellious and be an underdog sex worker. No, that's not. There's nothing underdoggy about human trafficking, which is a crime against humanity, punishable by death for a reason. Oh, but we're going to fight for the nation. The trafficked, they got themselves genocided when they trafficked. How about genocide as remediation for a rapey society? This is already Uranus at the Deacon where it is right now. No, not genocide as torture. Just that's just another form of ritual abuse. So these children at every single juncture weren't behaving the way that they expected them to behave in, let's say, an emergency. Expect that to continue. Like the children that were born